All right, welcome to episode 2 of our From Dust to Buff series. I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm really excited to get the second one out there. Do you guys enjoy this series and stuff like this? Because I would love to do stuff like this in the future, so just let me know. Basically, in this series, if you don't know what we're talking about, this series, we highlight old sets, old skills, old whatever in this game that kind of have been forgotten about and just kind of left to just sit there and gather dust. And so what I want to do is I wanted to highlight these old things and kind of bring them a new quality of life and be like, hey, these are my suggestions as to how I would bring them into the modern game, and just simple changes to kind of bring more relevance into the game and bring more of a variety. So what I like to do is I like to highlight 5 different things a week. And so without further ado, let's just start it up and just do episode 1, right? Like our first one. So the first thing that I would change personally is I would change this quick Elder Dragon passive right here. I'm going to move my webcam right here so that you guys can see the Elder Dragon passive in Dragonite. I feel like this is one of those things where you can really get a little bit better of a quality of life thing, because health recovery in current 2025 I think is probably the most useless skill line and stat line in the game. I feel like health recovery has just been gutted to oblivion and just kind of serves no purpose in the game anymore. There used to be a purpose for it. Health recovery used to be incredibly strong. For those of you guys that didn't know, health recovery was incredibly strong and very meta at one point in this game, but unfortunately, it got the heavy nerf in this game, and it just isn't the same anymore. It doesn't do anything for you. You can build so much into health recovery. You can build 100% into health recovery, and it still won't help you. So really, it's about, you know what if we just got rid of health recovery altogether? But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we need to do that. What I'm saying is we just need to change this passive around. The other passives in here, just to kind of, talk about them and just kind of see if we can get a cohesive set of passives going, is this. So we look at this. First one, Iron Skin. Increase the amount of damage you block by 10%. Okay, so we're kind of going for a little tanky one. Second one, while Draconic Power ability is active, your healing received is increased by 9%. Again, we're going a little bit into the tanky row. And then Health Recovery. Okay, Health Recovery used to be very, very good. Health Recovery used to be incredibly good, but it's just not really there right now. And the last one is Scaled Armor. Increase your physical and spell resistance by 3,000. Okay, so we're going a tanky route. So how do you build into tankiness? Yes, you increase the amount of block damage, right? You increase the amount of healing received, increase that physical and spell resistance. What else can you get? You do want a little bit of recovery, don't you? Stam and magic recovery is very helpful. So to me, what I would do with this is just switch the health recovery to a little bit of stam and a little bit of magic recovery. You don't need it to be the most amount of recovery in the world, but something that makes a noticeable difference for people to actually run this. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that this is the best skill line in the world, and I don't think that many people would really use this in a subclassing meta, but I think they would be the kind of thing that would really reward people who are playing on pure DKs, because again, you're not going to be playing any of this stuff most likely if you're on a subclassing build. I don't think this is the best armor line and best skill line by any means. But that being said, you have to run this if you're on base DK, and I think that if you buff the Elder Dragon passive, that is a great way to go forward, and it's a great way to kind of give that just extra bonus to those people who want to just stay base DK, just kind of stuff like that. Also, let's talk about the next one that I would change, right? So let's move on from there. So the next one thing that I would change is I would change Valkyn Skoria. I think Valkyn Skoria is on the verge of being good. I don't think it's quite good enough, but I think it's almost good, if that makes sense. It used to be very good. It used to be best in slot meta, like amazing, very good, very good. I don't know if it was actually meta for PvP, but anyways. What it does, for those of you guys that don't know, is when you deal damage with a damage over time effect, you have an 8% chance to summon a meteor that deals 6,000 flame damage to the target and 2,000 flame damage to all other enemies within 5 meters. And that can occur once every 5 seconds. So, I think that that's good, right? It's got good bones, but it's one of those things where it's like, it could do more, it could do less. So for me, what I would do to bring it more relevant into the meta is I would maybe potentially, I would increase the chance and then also lower the damage slightly so that it's happening more often. So that basically every 5 seconds, that's more or less proccing. And so you don't want it to be the most amount of damage, because if you have a monster set that's doing all of your damage, that's bad for you, right? You don't want that. So what you want to do is you want to increase that damage so that it happens more often, especially with damage over time abilities. Damage over time abilities, they're not the strongest in the game right now, especially with all these purges in the game now. But what you want to do is you want to reward people. So if people do want to play that playstyle, you do want to have this activated more often. So what I would do, like I said, increase the chance for it, but lower the damage slightly, because you don't want that chance to just be going off every 5 seconds, like boom, 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 boom. Because like I don't even have the highest amount of weapon damage right now. If I buff myself slightly, oh god, I don't even have a buff right now active. Sorry, I was messing with some stuff earlier. I don't even have a weapon damage buff up right now, so it could be higher. 6,000 on a non-buffed character, I think that's still pretty good. So it gets a lot higher. So that's just something to think about as well going forward, you know, just using all that stuff. The next thing that I wanted to bring up, you probably got a little bit of a hint of it when you were doing this, Scythe. I think that Scythe is one of those abilities that's always had so much potential as an AoE spammable, but has never found itself into any sort of meta, any sort of relevance. It's one of those things that I think is such a cool ability. Like, guys, look at this. You get a Scythe. Let me exit out of this. You get a Scythe, and to me, as somebody who loves everything horror, spooky, Halloween, dude, I love that. That's so cool. It's one of those abilities that I think is so cool. But it's never had any kind of relevance in the game because it's always felt very overshadowed by literally everything else. So for me, what I would do is I would increase the damage on this personally. I would get rid of the heal that you get from it, because I don't think that that's necessary. When you get heals from damage abilities like this, it doesn't do what everybody thinks it does. In theory, what it does is it allows you to be offensive while still healing yourself. But in reality, it's such a little and minuscule heal that if you even have a singular dot on you, they're kind of negating each other out more or less. And it's just not really that strong to the point where you're like, wow, I'm really healing myself by spamming this. So for me, what I would do is, I know that the morphs do different things, by the way. I haven't really brought them up right now. But I probably should, just, you know, just so that I know what everything does, just in case, because, you know, I do want to refresh that. So we have two different things. We have Hungry Scythe. We have Ruinous Scythe. Hungry Scythe, as you can see here, the extra thing is they gain a heal over time and reduces the cost as the effect ability ranks up. Okay, cool. Not that great. Not that great. So like, yeah, you got a little bit of a heal. But then also the next one is for Ruinous Scythe, converts to a stamina ability and deals bleed damage, applying the hemorrhaging status effect. Enemies hit are set off balance. I think that's good. I think that's a good start. But what it does is the damage isn't high enough to be a spammable to have that hemorrhaging status effect. You have something, if you want to compare things, so this does 5,000 magic damage at base, right? I know that's going to be more, and I know the numbers are different and everything, and I get that. But I just want to prove a point. You have something like Eviscerate. Yes, it's single target, so, you know, I know that that's a little bit of a difference, but that's dealing 6,700 damage, but also applying the hemorrhaging status effect. So what I would do, I would keep it in AoE, but I would also bump up the damage. I would bump up the damage, I would get rid of the heal, and I would apply status effects or something, some kind of negative effects to the enemy, so that there's a reason to run this. You have the damage of the base damage, you also have the damage of the status effects that are going off of them. I think that would be one of the best ways to go with this, and this would really make it a relevant actual skill in the current meta, and there would be reasons to run it. But also, you want to keep it on par with other things, like keep it on par with like things like Surprise Attack, keep it on par with things like Whip. Because if you can do something like that with Death Scythe, phenomenal. I would love it. I would absolutely love it. So that's my personal opinion. Next thing I wanted to go over is an old set, guys. This is an old set. This one's going to bring it back for a lot of people right here. So this one I'm very excited about. Guys, I bring back Fury. I would bring back Warrior's Fury. And the way I would do this is on the more simple side, right? So the 2-3 piece, max health, max stam, kind of useless in today's economy. It's really easy to build health. It's really easy to build stam. the best 2, 3, 4 pieces are when you're either getting weapon damage, penetration, or critical percentage. Those are the best ways to go with your 2, 3, 4 piece. So I personally change the 2, 3 to, you know, weapon damage, or even critical percentage, whatever. That's not what's important right now. I would change those around though. But what I would also do to bring this into a meta setup is I would keep the weapon damage and spell damage that you get, maybe increase it slightly, because let's look at this right now. I'm going to bring out my calculator on my phone. My calculator is telling me that for this, you're increased by 22 with 20 stacks. So your weapon damage is increased by 440. All right, not bad, but not great either. I would increase the amount of weapon damage that you can get by about 200 personally. I would get it to about 600. I think that getting to 600 when you're getting hit constantly PvP, I think that is a very fair way to go. You're kind of doing a lot of risk reward for this to have it so that, hey, you're getting attacked in PvP. We want something to help you fight back. I think that's very fair. It's a very fair way to go. So personally, I would keep it on that. I would have it so that you're stacked up there, but also I know that the duration can be doubled on the 20 stacks, but then you're gonna have to like reapply it and all that stuff. I would have it so that it's not one of those things that needs to like refresh or something like that. I would have it so that, the refresh rate will go away. I would have it so that once you get to that stack, you're staying at that stack unless you lose that damage. And I would just keep those stacks going and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling up until you get the max stacks, and then you keep on reapplying the max stacks over and over and over again. Kind of like something like Death Dealer's Fate or Roxa. When you get to max stacks, you stay at max stacks unless you get out of combat, and then you lose those stacks. Because then if you keep on getting hit on Fury, then you're going to keep on having the max stacks, but then you keep on lowering them if you're not getting hit anymore. I think that's a balanced way to go. It's very fair, I would say. So for me, I would keep the weapon damage and spell damage high on that, but then I would also add a little bit of crit percentage or even penetration as well. I would make it so that there's a reason to run this set, because this is the kind of set that is a double barred set, and it is a kind of a risk to run, because most of this meta is front bar, back bar, monster set, mythic, one piece trainee. That's what the meta has been for so long. So what you want to do is you want to give people reasons to not run that set. That way you're having other ways to play this game, and it's not just this rigid meta of one playstyle. So Fury, you want to be able to kind of give people reasons to play that. And I think that Fury would be one of the best reasons to actually kind of break that loop. So personally, like I said, let's review this. The 2-3 piece, get rid of, change weapon spell damage or even penetration or critical percentage. Doesn't matter. Just it's all part of the same boat, you know what I mean? Increase the stacks that you get and don't get rid of the double but not refreshed. So it just keeps like when you're at max stacks, you continue to get those max stacks and you're staying at that. And then also I would add a little bit of percentage for either penetration or critical as well. That way you're really, really hitting hard so that, you know, you give people a reason to run this. So I don't know. That's my personal opinion on why on how I would buff that. And then finally, last but not least, you know her. I know her. She's gorgeous. I miss her. She's one of the most beautiful things to ever exist in this game, but she's unfortunately no longer with us as far as the relevance goes in the meta department. And her name is Grothdarr. She is one of those monster sets that was amazing at the beginning. It was Grothdarr, it was Bloodspawn, it was Troll King, it was all that stuff. But now it's one of those monster sets that's just fallen by the wayside. And it's just not that good anymore. It's when you deal damage to an enemy within 8 meters, you have a 10% chance to create lava pools that swirl around you, dealing 1,000 flame damage to all enemies within 8 meters of you every 1 second for 5 seconds. So basically, on this tooltip, you're doing 5,000 damage over 5 seconds. We need to buff that damage. There's a 5-second cooldown on here because it's affecting her once every 10 seconds, and that starts from the beginning of the cooldown of the proc. So it's a 5-second cooldown. 10 minus 5, 5. So what I would do personally is I would maybe increase the amount of effects so that this can happen. Like instead of once every 10 seconds, once every 15 seconds, because, you know, 10-second cooldown, that's fine. That's fair. I think that's balanced. and then increase significantly the amount of damage that it does. Because you want to be able to give people reasons to run these things. You want there to be a risk. You want there to be a reward, right? So having flame damage is really good because a lot of people are vampires. And this is the kind of thing, if you increase that damage, that is a lot better for overall PvP. That's a lot better for the game to have more monster sets, because that could compete in the relevance as far as meta monster sets. I think that that'd be a great way to go. So increase that damage, 10% chance. I think that's fine. I think that's completely fine. You're doing a lot of damage. So for each separate tick of your damage, you have a 10% chance. I think that's balanced. I think that's perfectly fine. It's not balanced. It's not proccing all the time, but it will proc. So personally, I would just increase the damage. And then if you're increasing the damage significantly, then, you know, you do want to cut back on how often it can proc. So that's my personal opinion. That's from Dust to Buff, episode 2. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do me a giant favor. Hit that like button. If you haven't yet, do me a giant favor. Hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate that too. We're trying to get this kind of series off the ground and other series that are like this off the ground. So if you like this kind of stuff, please, the most amount of support that you guys can do is liking, commenting, watching, all that stuff. I'd appreciate it. Share it with your friends. I'd appreciate that. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next video. Later.